Hey everyone, so this is just a quick addendum to yesterday's video. So I reviewed Kenney Shape version 1.5 and I said that it was a great leap forward, the fact that you can now have greater control over the depth of each individual block because now objects are split to a front and a back. Rather than having extrusion going in both directions, you can now set the depth individually from the front or the back. Anyways, I mentioned that that was one of the two things that I thought was holding the application back. The other thing that I thought was a problem and a limiting factor was the fact that you only have 8 levels of depth, and since it's times 2, because it's front and back, 16 levels of depth. So if you're doing a 16 by 16, well, that means you've got 16 by 16 by 16, because you can remember this is a cube, not a square. But then that means for 24, it's 24 by 24 by 16. 32 by 32 by 16. So that depth is continuously falling behind. And then 64 by 64 by 16. So I had mentioned on the development forums for Kenney Shape, I said it's great that you made this addition. I think it makes the application a lot more viable as a tool, but I would still like to see depth be increased. And the developer, he said it's just him, there's no team, it's just him. He says that there isn't any plans on doing that right now. And to be clear, that's his choice. I'm not running him down. But that whether he chooses to or not, it doesn't change whether or not the application is usable. So it's his choice, but that doesn't change whether or not the application is more or less usable. So I want to make sure I cover both of those points. So yes, it's his choice not to develop it anymore, and that's what he said. He said that he was going to move on to other projects, and again, that's absolutely his choice to do that. But that means we're not going to have a change in depth. So we're stuck with what it is as now. So if you want to have greater than 16 levels of extrusion, then that means you really need to draw something from a profile point of view, which I'll show you what I mean. And because of that, it limits what you can do. So what I said in my previous video, I stand by that this is much more usable, but now that I know for certain that they're not going to change and increase the amount of depth, then I think that it does still limit this. So it's better than what it was, but maybe not as good as I hoped it was going to be now that we know for certain depth is not going to be increased. So I'll show you what I mean. So let's take the line tool, withdraw. Let's go to the front, get the square shape, and now we'll just draw lines across. So you're doing stairs. I'd skip ahead in the video, but this isn't going to take very long. So again, you're drawing a profile. In other words, you're drawing it from the side of the object, not from the front, not from the back. You're drawing it from the side. Like when you're saying that you're taking a profile picture of a person, it's the side view of them. And I'm not going to go all the way to the top, because I'm going to add a railing in a minute. So let's only go that high. So we go to depth, and this is what I'm talking about. There's only 8 levels. And if you go 8 to the front and 8 to the back, then that's 16 levels. But again, this one is like 24 by 24. And then, like I said, you can go even bigger. So that depth becomes, it's being outpaced by the other dimensions. So we'll click on 8. We'll use the paint or the fill tool. And now, there we go. You have a very simple staircase, so that you can indeed do. But what if you want a hand railing? Well, you can do a middle hand railing, and you can do a hand railing on one side, but you can't do one on both sides. So I'll show you. So if we do drawer, we'll choose a different color. We'll still use block. Oops, sorry, I keep doing that. I keep forgetting that I'm on the fill tool. And the reason why I'm not going to use a line for diagonal is because you can't draw diagonal lines in this application. So that's another minor limitation, but since it's such a simple paint program, I don't know if I ever even mentioned that. I'll just erase that one. So watch what happens. We go to model, And you can see because it's extruding out. So what you can do is you can change this to a 1. And now what we're going to do, so that would give you a middle hand railing. So you got a handling, so like if you got traffic going up and down, like in a mall or any other place that has multiple levels to it, that might do the job, but you still don't have a hand railing to the left or right. Now you're going to get a hand railing to one side, and I'll show you how to do that. So whether you use the front or the back, doesn't matter. You just have to change all these 8s to a 1. So when you do this, you go to back. By default, you see equal signs, which means this is equal to whatever is on the other side. So if you change the other side, it'll automatically change this side. So what we're going to do is we're going to change these to 1s. So watch what happens. So the other side will still be 8. Actually, I think I can do the paint bucket. Okay, so now let's check. Yes, so by doing that, you can get a hand railing on one side. Now, one of the things that they keep mentioning is the fact that you can stretch the object by doing this, but it stretches all the blocks evenly, so it doesn't really give you any greater level of extrusion. It will change the absolute size, but it changes the size proportionately. So that really, to me, is not an answer. I mean, it's a nice feature if you need to make something a lot bigger, but it really doesn't fix the issue of levels of extrusion, or depth as they call it. So that's basically where we are. So it is better than what it was because you have a front and back for both painting and depth, but you do not have the greater levels of depth. So that's what I was hoping for. And the dev, he clarified that no, there are no plans to do that. He's moving on to another project. And again, that is absolutely his choice. But as far as me reviewing this for you, that kind of tempers my my hope for this. So it is still better than what it is, and it's certainly your choice what you use, but I'm not quite as enthusiastic as I was. So that's about it. I just wanted to give you that update that that feature is not coming. And if you missed the other video, to know that it's still better than what it was. 1.5 is definitely an improvement, but we're not going to get the increased depth levels. So anyways, that should do it. So I hope you found this interesting, and please do enjoy the rest of your day.